to another edition of Vegas Bad Boys, the podcast, and it is I, DJ Impact, and I got Matt Michaels with us, and Simon Street. We don't have Sin City Steve. He is stuck inside of a movie theater, and they're torturing him right now by replaying AEW Revolution. So,
is that really what's happened? I thought he was stuck in eternal hell and damnation of booking.
Yeah, I good luck. I hope he makes it back. If we see him next week, I mean, he got through his torture. If we don't, well, oh well.
No, that Big Bill got him, right?
Big Bill.
Big Bill.
Welcome everybody to our 3-count show. First off, if you're watching us live, make sure to feel free to throw your comments in the box from Facebook Live, Twitch, or YouTube. We love to hear your comments in our stories for today. And if you are not watching us live and you download it, we always appreciate you. Thank you. And we see you, everybody, including our worldwide listeners. Okay, we see you. Shout out to all y'all out there. We never shout you out, but we see you always when we're looking at our breakdowns and going, okay, man, we're reaching countries all the way out there. So shout out to all of you all as well. All right. Let's get right into our 3 counts.
It's time. Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting present
1, 2, 3.
Count Talk.
Count Talk, baby.
All right, let's get to our first count.
1.
And that is when WWE found out about Sonya Deville's arrest. This is from ringsidenews.com. All right. This is how it reads. Sonya Deville was arrested in New Jersey when she was caught with a firearm that she didn't have proper permit for. She has carried a weapon since her horrifying stalker incident in 2020, but she hadn't made it legal yet in New Jersey. That February 19th arrest didn't break until March 1st, but news of her arrest traveled fast within WWE. So Ringside News had reached out to ask about Sonya Deville's situation, and we were told by a tenured member of the staff that the creative team was notified of her arrest when it happened. After all, the situation could have very likely thrown a wrench in any plan to use her in the immediate short term. Now, the initial report of her arrest from TMZ noted that, quote, WWE sources indicated there was no heat on Sonya Deville with the understanding of why she would want to protect herself following the stalker and home invasion situation, end quote. Now, Sonya Deville's stalker, Philip Thomas II, was arrested and charged with aggravated stalking, the armed burglar, attempted armed kidnapping, and criminal mischief. Now, Mandy Rose was actually staying with Sonya Deville at the time, a fact that was attention-grabbing because the two were currently engaged in a SummerSlam feud. A protective order to keep Thomas away from Sonya was also filed, and Deville was understandably traumatized by the entire situation. So in 2021, Judge Barbara Twine ruled that Sonya Deville's stalker was unfit to stand trial, and the stalker was sent to a mental health facility in June 22nd, 2021. And it's not known if Thomas is still in that facility, but Wrestling Inc. has reported that the case is now listed as closed in regulated legal documents. The case was finally closed in April 2022. We will have to see when Sonya Deville returns to WWE television. Judging by the response she received from fans after the story broke, she might have just turned herself into a massive baby face after this gun arrest. Interesting. Let me go over to you, Simon Street, on this one, man. What do you think? I mean, she got caught with the gun. It wasn't registered. Got arrested. Of course, the news fly by. Anybody get arrested, that's going to make news. And, WWE said, hey, we understand. What do you think about this, man, about this story?
Well, first and foremost, I kind of want to point out a couple things. First of all, just off of when it's happening right then and there, it's a very serious thing to be in. As you know, a lot of sports athletes and rappers get caught with fire weapons or firearms on them all the time and don't have the proper paperwork. What is different between some situations like that and this is that more or less she just didn't have the paperwork. So it probably was expired. Let's put it that way. most likely she probably had it. But if she didn't, that is a bit of a problem. And I get it. I totally understand. And I think it's great that, WWE is providing some grace given the situation. But at the end of the day, you still have to be responsible. It's no different than anything else, especially with firearms, because you have to look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is the purpose of paperwork for firearms is so that if it falls into the wrong hands, you then have more of a story that can build. Okay, if I have a firearm and it's registered to me, and let's say something happens, my house gets broken into, or if it, goes missing, right? Yeah. People can find out and say, okay, whether a murder or something was committed with this or a crime was committed, right? Yeah. They can go back and find out for me, hey, we found your gun, blah, 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 at the scene of a crime, yada, yada, yada. That's where it starts. When you don't have the paperwork, it then becomes a problem. And so it's the irresponsibility. I get that Sonya Deville went through a horrendous situation, and I feel for her, and she should protect herself, as all of us, whether we've been in a situation or not. But what I do say at the end of the day is she's got to clean this up. She's really got to make sure that this never happens again. You got to register these things. I don't know what her history is of being a gun owner, but anybody that owns a gun knows you got to get it registered. I don't know. If you got a car and you get it registered, you should have a firearm and get it registered. Again, trying to paint it as being a baby face, I get what some of the empathy that the writer of this article was trying to go for, but at the end of the day, I don't think she's going to make a baby face. If anything, we want to make sure, as you're someone that we want to put in for future events and plans, we need you to be a little bit more responsible. So I gotta give her a little bit of criticism on that one. I'm glad she's safe. I'm glad she's planning on being safe, but she got to be more responsible.
Let me ask you about that, Matt Michael. So if Simon Street is right, and I think most would probably say you should have some sort of paperwork that should go along with a firearm, was WWE's response the correct response? Should they hadn't mentioned something in terms of what Simon is saying, that, oh, yes, we support her, but there should maybe had been some sort of paperwork that should have been filed, but we still excuse because we understand why, because it could possibly be looked at that WWE is just like, okay, well, she's trying to protect herself because it happened. Maybe other wrestlers might do the same thing. What's your take on that, on this particular situation?
So there's a couple things. First is, from what I gather from the story, is the gun didn't have registration in Jersey,
right?
But I think it was registered to her in Florida because that's where she lives. So Jersey's gun laws, I think, are different. See, this is one of the problems we have, is that from state to state, there are different gun laws. So it makes it a little more confusing and complex. That's, that's an interesting factor to it. But let's go back to the old days. And the fact of the matter is that when you had the territories, these guys would drive with their guns and take them into the locker room and threaten the fuck out of each other.
Got a lot of stories about them.
It's interesting, the difference of what it was like in the 70s and what it's like now. We obviously have more progressive gun laws, and it was kind of like the Wild West back then. So, guys have been carrying guns for a long time. And back then, it was carrying a gun to show whose dick was bigger, right? Don't fuck with me. I got a bigger gun than you.
Right.
Now, in these situations, you have to figure that if you're not traveling with security, if you can't afford a security team to go with you, then, and if you know your way around a gun, if you're trained, which Sonya Deville, to my knowledge, is a trained gun owner, and then it's just making sure that you got the okay, in the state that you're in. John just brought up a great point, which is a story of Bruce Pritchard actually had his gun with him at an arena, and the story goes that he didn't want to leave it at JBL's house, so he took it with him to the arena, and because the gun was shown that Bruce actually had the gun, someone saw it. Stephanie fired him. He got fired. That's how he lost his job last time. So, and that was a number of years ago too. So, the interesting factor is, she didn't show up to work with it. So, if she shows up to work with it, just like, who the hell was it? Was it Gilbert Arenas in the NBA, who showed up with with his gun to the Wizards one day, and he was gone. So, you can't go to work with your gun. But this was in travel, so she just got busted for it.
Gotcha. All right, there. Well, Miss Sonya, make sure that when you fly any state with it, you go right to the county office and register it for every state.
But you know what's interesting though? I know we can't go look it up or anything. We ain't got enough time. But I would definitely like to think there's other things like traveling nurses, right? What if you're a traveling nurse and you carrying your heat on you, right? You would probably know, okay, if I'm gonna go state to state, right, for my work, what are the proper things I need to do? If I know I'm gonna be in Maryland, as you just say it, again, there might need to be some further education that WWE is going to have to provide for their talents, so that way this type of thing doesn't happen.
Yeah, but it also is, it's their responsibility because
100%.
It's not the company. So I don't think they should provide it. I think the talent needs to provide it, and if the talent doesn't show up with the gun, then whatever they do on their personal time or even in their travel time, it's not the company's time. So that becomes
guys. WWE talent, we need everyone here an extra hour earlier so we could go over
watch a video
gun sensitivity classes. Okay, and
let's go gun protocol
and sign off on it.
Hold on, I have even better. The class will be taught by Chad Gable.
Oh man,
no, the class can be taught by Jeff Hardy.
Oh shit.
Next.
All right, y'all, number 2. Let's go right into it. Aubrey Edwards responds to critics who think she is too involved in AEW matches. Now, this is from WrestlingHeadlineNews.com. All right, this is how it reads. It says that AEW star referee Aubrey Edwards recently appeared on Renee Paquette's The Sessions podcast to discuss the criticism she receives for her work in the promotion, specifically how some believe that she gets too involved in matchups, and highlights from the interview can be found below. So it says here, one receiving criticism for being too involved in matches. And I guess this is her talking here. It says, when it first started happening, it was something where I was like, oh, Twitter is eventually going to hate me because I'm a woman. That's going to just happen. I'm really good about not listening to criticism that doesn't matter. I listen to constructive criticism. That's where I've been focused. So if Jericho is putting me in a match and he's shoving me and wants me to shove him back, I'm going to do it. It's ultimately not my decision. It's a decision because it's his story, and I'm here to help elevate the story that he's telling. All right, the next one says she never tried to be a character. It just worked out that way due to fans loving her. And then she says this, it's not like I try to be a character. It's just some sort, like they figured out I have a very go-getter personality and a very no nonsense. And as people pick me in matches, they were like, oh, I shove her. I get a lot of heat for that. Let's do that. And it's happened naturally. It was never something I intended. It was something that happened because the wrestlers asked me to do things in matches, and I do them. And then it says here, how did indie refs were criticize her, then reach out for a job? And then she says, I get none at AEW because all the guys are freaking great. They are all absolutely incredible. I will hear some criticism online from other referees that are on the indies. Dudes, why are you criticizing people on TV? Don't you want a job? I don't focus on the criticism. I focus on how silly people are. Why are you criticizing something online and then shooting me a DM about getting a job at AEW? We're not going to do that if you just shit all over me. And then it just ends by saying, aside from referee Edwards is also working. Okay, that's never mind. All right, so that's pretty much the end of that. So let's go over to you, Mr. Matt Michaels. Fans are criticizing that she's just too involved in matches. She says, hey, I'm just doing what I'm told to do. I'm elevating the talent's storyline. What's your take on this?
Pretty much your facial example right there. I mean, it's like, wow, what a bunch of bullshit. Are we really believing this, Aubrey? Listen, first off, you can be critical of referees when referees are noticed. Okay.
Right.
The job is not to be noticed unless there is an actual angle going on. Right. That involves them. And this is a very interesting point here. John just said when he saw AEW debut in Seattle in January, Aubrey got the biggest pop of the crowd chants, and then Jericho and Ricky Starks, and it was crazy. Well, Aubrey's from Seattle. Okay. It doesn't matter though if the fans like you, right? Why? Because a referee is the glue between backstage and the performers. They're not a performer. It's as simple as that. And I think what we've seen AEW do is allow these referees to make themselves performers. And it's very easy to say, well, Jericho told me to do this in the match. That's good. Jericho tells you to do that in the match. Great. But that should be the one thing you do in that match, that one spot, that one moment. That's it. And it's an old school mentality. But it's fairly true. When a referee is getting too much attention from the crowd, then who gives a fuck about what's happening in the ring? You've upstaged the actual performers who matter to your company. And I think that that's what we're seeing. I honestly, when I look at it, I think that this is an example of how Tony Khan allows the people in the company to have an ego about themselves.
Right.
And you would never hear this from a WWE employee for good reason, because the referees are not out there doing interviews. That says a lot right there.
Right. And it's with WWE, there's like a certain respect for the referees in terms of you don't put your hands on them. You're just something that you don't do. When you do that, then they're talking, disqualifications, fines. But in her world, if you put hands on her, she's just gonna fight you back. And it's like, well, when you do that, now you're becoming talent. You're more than just a referee. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're now a part of the show. I'll tell you this, and I'll get your thoughts, Simon Street. It was a match on SmackDown. I don't know if it was Rhea Ripley and Liv's match. I think that's the match it was, but it was a part in there where there was a distraction between Rhea and Dominic, and
she was in the corner,
and Michael Cole goes, hey, I wish the referee do his damn job. Now it was funny because when he said that, you really never hear that. And it made me look at the referee. And when I looked at the referee, I was like, you know what? That's kind of funny. I'm not actually interested. I wasn't sure who he was. He looked new to me. He looked like he was a brand new referee. And I was like, okay, well, maybe that plays a good job because he's new to it. Maybe he does need to do his job. But it was just one of those things where it didn't even pay, the ref wasn't the main part of the show until Cole ended up mentioning it.
And that's a very good point. That's a very good point. You let the commentator flavor the picture.
That's right.
And you don't create the picture.
Yeah. And when he did it, it made me look at him. I was like, hell, I didn't even know. He looked new to me. He's not the regular referees I'm familiar with. Simon Street, what was your take, man, when you hear Aubrey just saying, hey, man, I'm just doing my job here. What you think?
Well, I think exactly that. I mean, there's not much to really read and stretch on that one. I mean, she's just doing a damn job. I mean, she ain't cutting paychecks. However, I really am not going to spend too long. So if you could hit a timer for me, just 1 minute or whatever the minute you got to count it in your head. I hate to have to make this conversation because Sin City Steve is not there, but this is the difference between WWE and AEW. And for me personally, that's okay because AEW presents themselves as any and everything that is not functionally WWE optics. It just is what it is. And the crazy thing is, at least from my perspective, this is what makes AEW special and original because they're not following the script. Yes, does it make any type of sense? Hell to the no. But for some reason, when it comes to Aubrey, it makes sense. And so if you watch the product and you're a fan of it, this is a normal commonplace, weekly. John has said a comment earlier, getting involved in matches is like Moxley bleeding. It's a weekly occurrence. This is something that happens all the time. But it goes back to what she said in the article. Mm-hmm. She's just doing what she's doing. AEW to me, and I'll stop with this. AEW is when you allow your child to order something on the menu at an expensive steak restaurant, and you don't give a shit how much it costs you when you get the bill. That's AEW. Anything goes. We ripping up contracts, whatever. We're just going to do it what the hell we want. Some people like it. Some people hate it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's reflective on the owner.
There you go. It's reflective. It's reflective on the adult letting the kid order a steak not cooked and thinking the shit's cool.
Wait, y'all talking about the Booker of the Year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Booker. No, not self-proclaimed.
No, I forgot. Wrestling.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Meltzer.
Do we have a fart noise for that? We have fart noise for that.
We don't have a fart. We have to find one of those.
We got to find one for any time Meltzer prophesizes. Have like choir singing in the background, and then at the end, just a.
All right, here we go. Count number 3. And this one is Triple H wants a smaller WrestleMania card. WWE talent unhappy about not being on the show. This is from WrestlingNews.co. Now, this article we pulled a week ago. So let's read it and see what it was saying here. It says that this year WrestleMania card will not include a lot of names this year. WrestlingNews.co is told that Triple H wants a small card this year, which means a lot of names that have been working on TV and live events throughout the year will be hanging out backstage during the show. In prior years, there was an effort to include as many wrestlers on the card as possible, and a battle royal would be added to the card to at least give the undercard a chance to be featured on the show. We're told that this year there's no battle royal plan, and the only small handful of talents are being used. There's also some unhappiness about some of the slots on the show being used by legends and celebrities. Obviously, things could change, but those we spoke to were not happy about being involved in the company's biggest show of the year in Los Angeles. All right, Simon Street, this was yours article here. What's your take on Triple H wanting a smaller WrestleMania card?
I think it's kind of smart. I think that although I do love a jam-packed match to match WrestleMania, 2 nights. It can sometimes, for us that have gone, be a bit exhausting. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. How did you feel, Impact, going to 1 last year, right? Was the first time we went live to a 2-nighter, jam-packed. It was great. But man, was it exhausting.
Yeah.
Michaels, how did you feel watching for the last, 3 years since the pandemic, right? 2 nights, jam-packed. It's a little exhausting, or are you okay? You got to like pace with it? You okay with it?
Well, the issue here is, and he never said anything about cutting 2 days.
No, I'm not saying 2 days, but just bear with me on this one.
Yeah.
I'm saying in the sense of is you can't fit everything into 2 days. And you want to find things that coincides of what's going on with the majority of what you got the last, let's say, month and a half, or the road to WrestleMania, right? I get that we're going to have Logan Paul for the second WrestleMania. I'm not excited about it as well. However, he earned his right to get there, more or less, okay? We're not going to have Stone Cold as far as a match, which was a longer match than what we needed. I've noticed some things have changed to where more people are being utilized on shows. So I don't understand the complaining, whoever these people are. You're getting utilized, or more of the roster is getting utilized on a weekly taping basis than they ever have before. Yeah, you didn't get to WrestleMania. I get that. But I'd be honest with you, your ass is probably on TV a hell of a lot more than what you would have been, 4 or 5 years ago. There'd be some people, you're not going to be on WrestleMania, and we didn't see you on TV for half the year, and you was just sitting there on the roster, under contract. So I just wanted to point this out to see what you guys' take was on this one. I think there's a lot of complaining that's going on. I don't even think any of this is substantiated. I think it's just a stretch for someone trying to make a name for themselves. I'm sorry to have to sound like Matt Michaels a little bit, but Angel Armbolas, I'm sorry I messed up your name. That's a bit of a stretch, Come on now.
Well, let me ask you, Mr. Matt Michaels. I mean, apparently there's some talent that is upset because they're in Los Angeles and not going to be on the biggest show, apparently, because Triple H wants to shorten the card. What's your take on this, man?
So the interesting thing is, there's no mention of people actually complaining.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, did Angel just kind of invent this out of the blue? Like, who's his sources? That's the interesting thing about that. Now, the only reason that this becomes an issue is because the WrestleMania payday is the biggest payday of the year. And in the past, that's why they've done the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. That's why they did the Raw versus SmackDown Battle Royals. It was just to get them on the card so that there's more income coming in for them because of the way the contracts are written for WrestleMania.
That was so nice. That was so nice of Vince McMahon to do that. This Triple H guy, he's just selfish. He doesn't have a brain like Vince,
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. Vince.
I'm joking, people. See, people listen to the podcast going, "What is DJ talking about?" I'm just bullshit.
And then DJ says that kind of shit, but then in private, he's like, Vince McMahon is very much a genius, and so it's take it for what he's saying right now. No, the thing is that I think the bigger factor here is that the complaint is basically working into what I was saying. You have 2 days. So there's no reason you couldn't do a couple pre-show matches that would fit in these people, who might not get on the main card. That's why you have that battle royal. You could do each night. I think wasn't that the whole thing? They were going to do the women's battle royal too. I don't know if they ever ended up doing that because it was like the Moolah.
Yeah.
Battle royal.
Then the name. Yeah.
So,
I think they did it the night before. or not the night before. They did it the last
Or on
Raw
SmackDown or
before, or
something.
something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
So I mean, you know, it's all interesting about how the logistics work on that. But what's interesting to me is that if you aren't using as many people, that means the matches go longer, right? Because you have 2 days now. Now, if you weren't going to utilize all those people, then why not make it 1 day again? Just saying. You know, that's
I'm all for 1 day.
I was just about to say, Impact is all for 1 day.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but now remember, it goes back.
The 2 day was an accident.
Well,
it was never planned to be that way.
Of course,
It was brought on by the pandemic. That's what it was. It was the pandemic.
It brought on, and they did it because they had to have people separated from the seats because of, okay. And
well,
then,
not even from the seats. Remember, in 2020, when the pandemic was going on, the performers all couldn't be in the same building at the same time. So that's why they made it 2 nights. And then in 21, that's when they started using, oh yeah, we have the seats have to be spread out. Yep. And then in 22, they realized, oh, you know what? Fuck it. That's a lot more money we're taking in.
Right.
They had a Tiffany epiphany.
Yes, they did. Yes. Yes. That they were strutting they were strutting themselves
to the bank.
Money window there. Yeah, to the bank. Exactly.
They was doing the muscle dance.
The muscle dance.
And at the muscle dance?
Yes. Everyone's doing the muscle dance. But in reality, go back to 1 day and you know what happens? You think you're paying a lot now. Wait until you see the ticket price on the 1 day. Because now they got to compensate because they'd make twice as much for 2 days. So now you're paying not only what you'd pay for 2 days, but probably a little bit more. So, you know, in the end, you're going to be paying at some point the price you'd be paying to see 3 WrestleManias for 1 ticket.
Look, it's getting so expensive now. It be to the point to where people going to be sleeping in 2 beds together and you ain't even married just to save some money on hotel room costs.
No, it's in LA. Everyone's going to be joining the people on the streets.
Well, there you go.
That's bad. That's horrible. I shouldn't have laughed like that. Which makes you wonder how people like Smiley and friends all seem to always get the very front row seats all the time. I really wish I knew what they were doing to be able to force such top of the line seats for every mega show. You know those seats, if you go through Ticketmaster, are 10 grand.
Well,
if you want to be,
you know what it is, though, right? It's the
Smiley in the green shirt.
The Illuminati.
Okay. Hey, you know what? Why don't you start working harder and make the money that he makes?
Yeah, Impact. Work harder and find a way to only have 2 hours.
And you know what?
24 days of free time.
And you know what? That's total bullshit because you know Smiley, he can't afford Beyonce tickets.
You know what? To be real with you, impress my ass and be in the front row than Beyonce concert. Impress me. I bet you that's way more than 10,000.
Yeah. You see him at Beyonce, dude, then you know something's going on with that dude.
Look, you know what? He just sold his soul. Where Moxley has to give blood weekly to be successful in AEW, he just had to sell his whole soul.
Well, and listen, and by the way, it's just not him. He's got a couple of friends that are also
fuzzy slippers.
also doing that.
That's all you got to do. Impact, you got to sell your fuzzy slippers.
That will make up all the money.
That sounds like code word for something else, man. You got to give up your fuzzy slippers.
Tony Khan will gladly buy all your fuzzy slippers.
Just have some of this white powder here.
The white fuzzy slippers, man.
Oh my God! Hold
on. Now do the bunny hop.
I knew I was going to have to use this.
Shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
Look. Shame is that you didn't do it sooner to save you some money on the front row seats. Impact.
Oh man.
DK be doing the nose muscle dance.
Not-
Hit him again with it.
Shame.
Shame there wasn't more at the party. It was only one baggie. Guess you had to split it.
All right, y'all. That is our 3 count. As
That it
usual,
was.
thanks for everybody for hanging out. We appreciate you. We're glad to be back, and we'll be seeing you at least up to Mania. You know, I know I probably won't be here that weekend, so these guys will be. You know,
Please, I'm chilling at my house and I'm watching it on a projector.
Yeah,
You're more than welcome to join.
yeah.
And I'm getting tons of wings and pizza and all types of alcohol.
Yeah, we're gonna record some stuff, DJ, and make sure that it plays for that weekend because I don't think anyone's going to be watching our podcast while WrestleMania is going on.
No, for both.
Because we are charging $500 a ticket for the podcast for Sunday night at WrestleMania. So,
And also, too, you didn't tell him, Michaels. We've also devised a plan to where between the 4 of us, we're going to be divided between shirts and skins. We're going to do a drawing who's going to pick which is going to wear shirts and who's going to wear skins.
all right.
There you go.
A lot going on. And I just want to thank everybody again for hanging out with us and chilling with our nonsense and craziness. We do this for y'alls. All right. That's it for me. Simon Street, what you want to tell the good people?
Thank you all so much for tuning in. Appreciate each and every one of us. And just remember that when you're feeling down and glum, just remember somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, you know the rest of the song. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. I hope that's the lyrics because we do have a team that will go through and check to make sure what you were saying were correct. Matt Michaels, what you want to say?
let's hope it's not the lyrics, or else we're gonna have to pay royalties. So
Well, I didn't say the whole lyrics. I said part of it. Shit.
no, you don't have to. You don't have to. If you played the song, then we're in trouble. Let's see. What is it? God bless our troops and everyone serving this country, I believe is what he says. My facial hair is trimmed and groomed by JTG's facial beard trimmer and grooming. Paul Heyman didn't pay royalties in ECW. And Rep Sports, use the code Vegas to get 10% off of all your workout needs from Rep Sports. And USA.
Hey, there you go.
Go Ohio. Buckeyes.
Thank you, Sin City Matt Michaels.
Shit. I'm sorry.
AEW.
Oh God. All right, y'all. We gonna get out of here.
He's gonna come for your ass.
Peace.